Welcome to a world where steel meets disaster. These excavators were built to dominate the earth, but the earth fights back. Collapses, fires, floods, no warnings, no mercy. Just raw iron against chaos. This isn't construction, it's survival. Some machines fail, some refuse. These are 10 forgotten excavators that make today's machines look fragile. Number 1. Bucyrus-Erie 195B. The Bucyrus-Erie 195B wasn't built to be efficient. It was built to be unstoppable. In an era when overbuilt wasn't a marketing word but a survival strategy, the 195B became a legend in quarries, strip mines, and massive earth-moving operations. Everything about this excavator screamed endurance. The undercarriage was massive. The boom and stick looked like they belonged on a bridge, not a machine. Pins were thick enough to look permanent. Operators often joked that you could park a truck on its house and it wouldn't notice. What made the 195B terrifying and respected was how little it cared about abuse. Hard rock? No problem. Frozen ground? It would punch through. Continuous 12 to 14-hour shifts? Normal life. Modern excavators rely on precision. The 195B relied on mass and pressure. Its hydraulics were simple but brutal. When the bucket curled, the ground moved. There was no negotiation. Operators trusted it because it never felt delicate. You didn't baby it, you worked it, and it responded like a loyal animal. When something did fail, it was usually after years of punishment. Mechanics remember these machines as nightmares to transport, but dreams to keep alive. No computers, no locked software, just iron, hoses, and valves. If it broke, you fixed it. Today's machines feel smart. The 195B felt immortal. Number 2. Caterpillar 225. Before Caterpillar dominated hydraulic excavators, the CAT 225 showed the world that CAT could build something brutal. This machine became a favorite on demolition sites, heavy trenching, and industrial work because it could take punishment that would destroy lighter equipment. The 225 wasn't elegant. It was thick, heavy, loud, and that was exactly why crews loved it. Where modern excavators rely on optimized steel and lighter frames, the 225 was built like a tank. The boom and stick were thick slabs of metal. The swing bearing felt indestructible. You could slam the bucket into concrete all day and the machine wouldn't flinch. Operators respected it because it didn't feel nervous. Modern machines sometimes feel fragile, flexing, vibrating, warning you. The 225 just worked. You didn't wonder if it could handle the job. You knew it could. Demolition crews especially loved it. They could rip into foundations, tear steel, and crush debris without worrying about cracked arms or twisted frames. Even today, when one of these machines shows up in a yard, it looks like a survivor from another era when excavators weren't designed to be smart. They were designed to be angry. Tummy. Number 3. P&H 355. P&H Pauling and Harnischfeger was known for cranes and mining equipment, but the P&H 355 excavator became a quiet legend in heavy-duty excavation. This machine lived in places modern excavators fear: rock pits, slag piles, industrial demolition zones. It wasn't built for resale value, it was built for punishment. The frame was brutally rigid. The boom was overbuilt. Hydraulics were slow by modern standards, but unstoppable. The machine didn't snap movements, it pressed the world into submission. Operators who ran at 355 describe it as calm power. No drama, no hesitation, just steady force. What made it special was how long it stayed relevant. While newer machines came and went, the P&H kept working. It didn't care about fashion. It cared about pressure. It cared about pressure. Modern machines win on speed and efficiency. The 355 won on survival. Number 4. O&K RH5. The O&K RH5 came from a world where machines were not designed for comfort, resale value, or visual appeal. They were designed to survive. Built by Orenstein and Koppel in Germany, the RH5 represented a European philosophy that feels almost extinct today. If a machine is going to work in stone, dust, and punishment, then every structural part should be overbuilt beyond logic. This excavator was not light. It was not sleek. It was not fast. It was unyielding. In quarries and mining operations, the RH5 earned its reputation as a machine that simply refused to care what it was digging. Hard limestone, jagged basalt, frozen overburden. It didn't matter. The boom didn't flinch. The stick didn't twist. The house didn't shudder. Where modern excavators rely on optimized steel and weight savings, the RH5 relied on mass and thickness. Every component felt like it belonged on a bridge. Operators who ran the RH5 remember one thing above all else: confidence. You never hesitated before a cut. You didn't test the ground. You drove the bucket in and expected the earth to give way, and it always did. There was no sensation of fragility, no sense that the machine was near its limit. It felt like it was working at 40%, even when it was at 100%. Hydraulics on the RH5 were slow by modern standards, but devastating. It didn't snap. It pressed. Every movement felt deliberate and heavy, like a giant closing its hand. That made it perfect for rock and demolition work. You weren't dancing around obstacles. You were removing them from existence. Mechanics respected the RH5 for the same reason operators did. It was honest iron. No computers. No software locks. No sensor networks waiting to fail. If something broke, you could see it, understand it, and fix it. Hoses, valves, steel. That was the machine. Today's excavators feel impressive. They are smooth, fast, and efficient. But they also feel aware of their own limits. The RH5 did not acknowledge limits. It was built in an era when the solution to stress was simply more metal. When modern crews see one of these still working in a quarry, the reaction is disbelief. Not because it is old, but because it still feels more solid than machines built 50 years later. Number 5. Hitachi UH083. The Hitachi UH083 was one of the machines that reshaped the global excavator industry. Before it, Japanese excavators were often seen as lighter, more refined alternatives to Western iron. The UH083 shattered that perception. This machine wasn't polite. It wasn't delicate. It was brutal. Built in an era when reliability meant survival, the UH083 became famous for doing things it shouldn't survive, yet did. It worked in rock. It worked in demolition. It worked in forestry. It worked in mud, dust, heat, and rain, and it just kept going. What made the UH083 special was its balance between refinement and brutality. The controls were smoother than older American machines, but the structure was just as thick. The boom and stick were heavy. Pins were oversized. The undercarriage was built to be punished. Operators loved it because it combined feel with fearlessness. You had control, but you also had the confidence to push. You could feather movements for precision or slam into hard ground without hesitation. It never felt like it was about to crack. Demolition crews discovered that the UH083 could do work that destroyed lighter machines, breaking concrete, tearing foundations, working steel, where modern excavators often require reinforcement packages. The UH083 came from the factory ready for war. Mechanics respected it because it was both tough and logical. Systems were straightforward. Failures were mechanical, not electronic. You didn't need a laptop to diagnose a bad day. You needed experience and tools. The UH083's legacy is still visible today. Many modern excavator designs are descendants of its layout and balance. But something was lost along the way: excess strength. Today's machines are optimized. The UH083 was fortified. When modern operators climb into one, they often say the same thing: this feels like it was built to survive a collapse. And that's why it still earns respect. Number 6. Link-Belt LS78. Long before hydraulic excavators became the default, machines like the Link-Belt LS78 ruled job sites. This was not a machine in the modern sense. It was a moving structure of steel, gears, drums, and cables. And it was built with one philosophy: nothing breaks unless the world itself does. The LS78 came from an era when weight equaled strength. There was no obsession with fuel efficiency or transport convenience. If a boom needed to handle stress, it got thicker. If a frame needed to survive shock loads, it got heavier. There was no optimization, only reinforcement. On demolition sites, river projects, and heavy excavation work, the LS78 earned a terrifying reputation. It could rip out foundations, lift objects modern excavators would refuse, and work in environments where precision didn't matter, only survival did. Operators didn't feel the limits of the machine because it rarely showed them. Running an LS78 required skill in a way modern operators rarely experience. You controlled drums, brakes, clutches, and cables. You didn't just move a joystick, you managed forces. Every movement had inertia, every lift had consequences. This forced operators to become engineers in motion, and the machine rewarded that skill with unmatched stability and strength. Modern excavators feel light, responsive, almost delicate. The LS78 felt like a building that could walk. When it planted its tracks, it owned the ground. Swinging a full bucket didn't create nervous flex. It felt like rotating a tower. Mechanics still talk about LS series machines with a mixture of respect and nostalgia. They were complex, but in a mechanical way. You could see every moving part. You could hear problems forming. Maintenance wasn't digital. It was sensory: smell, sound, vibration. If something went wrong, the machine told you in a language of steel. What makes the LS78 legendary is not just its power, but its lifespan. Many of these machines worked for decades. They changed owners, they changed roles, they survived floods, freezes, and abuse. Where modern machines are traded after a few years, LS78s became permanent residents. To modern crews, the LS78 looks ancient, but when they see one still lifting, still digging, still operating with authority, the illusion of progress cracks, because no touchscreen excavator today feels as indestructible as a cable machine built when failure was not an option. Number 7. Demag H55. The Demag H55 didn't look like a machine designed for comfort. It looked like a machine designed for conflict with the earth itself. Built in Germany, the H55 reflected a design culture shaped by heavy industry, mining, and post-war reconstruction. It was not elegant. It was purposeful. Everything about the H55 suggested permanence. The house sat low and heavy. The boom and stick were thick slabs of steel. The undercarriage was wide and stubborn. When it moved, it didn't glide, it advanced. In quarries and industrial projects across Europe, the H55 became known as an excavator that refused to acknowledge hard ground. Rock didn't slow it, rubble didn't confuse it, debris didn't threaten it. It treated resistance as normal. Operators respected the H55 because it felt unbreakable. You didn't hesitate, you didn't try, you commanded. The machine responded with steady, unstoppable force. It didn't snap movements like modern hydraulics. It applied pressure like a hydraulic press. Demolition crews discovered that the H55 could do jobs that destroyed lighter machines. Where modern excavators require reinforced booms and special packages, the H55 arrived already armored. It was built in an era when reinforcement was not optional, it was default. Mechanics admired the H55 for its mechanical honesty. No hidden systems, no fragile electronics. Everything was visible, heavy, and understandable. You could trace forces with your eyes. Steel met steel, oil met piston. Nothing was abstract. What makes the H55 feel mythical today is how overbuilt it appears. Modern excavators are engineering miracles. Lighter, faster, smarter, but they also feel like they live close to their limits. The H55 felt like it lived far below them. When modern crews see a Demag H55 still working in a quarry or scrapyard, it creates cognitive dissonance. This machine is decades old, yet it looks and behaves more solid than equipment fresh from the factory. And that is why it earns respect, because it wasn't built to impress. It was built to endure. Number 8. Fiat-Allis FE30. The Fiat-Allis FE30 came from a time when excavators were not expected to be elegant. They were expected to survive. Born from the merger of European and American heavy iron philosophies, the FE30 felt less like a machine and more like a moving bunker. Everything about it was oversized. The boom looked like a structural beam. The stick carried thickness where modern machines chase weight savings. Pins were enormous. The house sat heavy and grounded, like it had no intention of ever being light. Operators who ran the FE30 remember one thing: fearlessness. You didn't test the ground, you attacked it. Hard clay, frozen soil, broken concrete, buried rock. The FE30 treated resistance as routine. It didn't struggle, it leaned in. Hydraulics were slower than modern units, but every movement carried authority. Instead of snapping quickly, it applied pressure like a hydraulic press. It didn't feel rushed, it felt inevitable. Mechanics respected the FE30 because it was built in a mechanical language they understood. No digital barriers, no hidden systems. Steel, hoses, pumps, valves. If it failed honestly, and could be repaired with skill instead of software. Modern excavators feel engineered. The FE30 felt forged. That difference is why, even today, crews look at one and say, that thing was built for war. Number 9. Koehring 1066. The Koehring 1066 was one of those machines that earned respect simply by surviving. It worked in demolition, heavy trenching, industrial projects, and brutal climates where failure meant lost contracts. This excavator felt dense, heavy, solid. It didn't flex. It didn't whisper warnings. It just worked. Operators loved its stability. Swinging a full bucket didn't feel risky. Digging into stubborn ground didn't feel like gambling. The machine felt rooted, like it was part of the earth instead of sitting on it. The N66 was known for its tolerance of abuse. Crews pushed it beyond what modern machines would accept. It survived impacts, shock loads, and long shifts that would age lighter iron rapidly. Mechanics appreciated its straightforwardness. Problems were physical, solutions were mechanical. You didn't need permission from software to repair your own machine. In a world where equipment is increasingly sensitive, the N66 stands as a reminder that strength itself is a feature. Number 10. Mitsubishi MS180. The Mitsubishi MS180 didn't arrive with noise. It arrived with endurance. This machine became legendary in forestry, quarrying, and industrial work because it simply lasted. It didn't chase fame. It earned trust. The MS180 balanced Japanese refinement with brutal construction. Controls were smooth, but the structure was thick. It felt calm, but never weak. Operators could work precisely or violently, and the machine never complained. In forests, it tore stumps. In quarries, it clawed rock. In demolition, it broke concrete that should have cracked lighter frames. Mechanics admired its reliability. Systems were robust. Failures were rare. When they happened, they were understandable. Modern excavators are brilliant. They are fast, efficient, intelligent. But these forgotten machines were something else. They were not built to impress. They were built to endure. And that is why, even decades later, they still make today's machines look fragile. These machines didn't care about comfort, emissions, or elegance. They existed to fight the earth and win. They carved cities out of wilderness and left scars on the planet that still exist today. Modern excavators are cleaner, quieter, and more advanced, but they will never carry this kind of raw authority. These giants were built to outlive their operators, and many of them did. So tell me in the comments which of these beasts shocked you the most. And if you respect real iron, unstoppable power, and forgotten legends, subscribe, because machines like these deserve to be remembered.